I mean, I don't know if that's what Christina was thinking, but that's what I'm thinking. Hey y'all, welcome welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is another true crime episode, so if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so today we're just going to be jumping right into the case, and today we are in Colorado with a young lady named Christina Sandoval. So Christina Marie Tournay was born on March 17th, 1972 to her parents Michael and Marie Tournay in Valparaiso, Indiana, and she was the second oldest of 9 children. And according to her parents, she always had this certain level of determination that was pretty much undefeated. And this determination could be seen very, very early on in Christina's life, because it said that when she was just 8 months old, she pretty much taught herself how to walk. Her parents said that the day that she learned how to walk, the whole day she was pulling herself up, trying to take little steps. And every time she would fall down, Christina would just pull her little tiny self back up and try again and over again until eventually later on that evening, she was a walker. And by the time Christina made it to middle school, she had learned how to play the trumpet. And I wasn't quite clear if she had learned how to play the trumpet from coaching or if she had learned how to play the trumpet by herself, which would not be surprising. But nonetheless, in middle school, she did play the trumpet. And when she got into high school, she would become a member of the marching band. And throughout her high school career, Christina not only exceeded academically, but in sports as well. She played volleyball, basketball, and she ran track. And there is a level of respect that I have for for people who run track, because I ran track in high school and I quit after a week. They made me run up a hill one time and I said, I quit that day. And Christina also sang in the choir in high school as well. And it said that she participated in the Knowledge Bowl, which sounds like you gotta know some stuff to be a part of. And she was also an honor roll student. So like I said, very gifted academically and athletically. But even though Christina was competitive in nature, she had a very caring energy. It was said that she had always been very empathetic and nurturing. So when she graduated high school, it wasn't surprising that she would go to college to pursue a degree in nursing. And initially she went to Ames Community College, where she would obtain her associate's degree in nursing. And it's while she was at Ames Community College that she met her future husband, John Sandoval. And the two of them would get married on December 31st, 1991. And during the course of Christina and John's marriage, Christina would go on to get a bachelor's degree of science in nursing from the University of Northern Colorado. And remember when I told y'all that Christina had always had this level of determination that was unmatched? Well, she obtained this BSN in nursing while she held a part-time job as an LPN at Northern Colorado Medical Center on the weekends, and still managed to graduate with honors and in the top 5% of her class in May of 1995. Shortly after getting her bachelor's degree, Christina would get a job at the facility that she worked at the Northern Colorado Medical Center, but she would move into the oncology department, where she would now work as an RN. Now, everything seemed to be going well for Christina. She was married, she was now a registered nurse, she had a job in her field. Everything seemed to be falling into place for Christina. However, there was one area of her life that was actually falling apart, and that was her marriage to John. Because in the beginning, Christina thought that she had met the man of her dreams. She thought she met the person she was going to spend the rest of her life with. But then, shortly after her and John had got married, she started realizing some stuff about John that just didn't sit well with her. Like, he would just be gone in the middle of the night sometimes. And Christina would sometimes find random items in her house that didn't belong to her, like panties. It was very much giving possible serial killer, like, you know, being gone in the middle of the night, coming back with random items that don't belong to your wife. I mean, I don't know if that's what Christina was thinking, but that's what I'm thinking. But anyways, Christina really couldn't put her finger on what was so unsettling about John for her. And so she kind of just brushed it off. But it wasn't too long before she would find out why she would get these unsettling feelings about John, because just 5 months after the two of them got married, John was arrested for stalking one of his co-workers and breaking into her house. And for this, he was sentenced to 5 weeks in jail. And while he was in jail, Christina realized or learned that this was not John's first rodeo. She learned that her husband was a serial Peeping Tom. And once Christina became privy to this information about John, she didn't tell nobody. She didn't tell her friends or her family because she was embarrassed. She married a Peeping Tom and she ain't know. And besides, after John got out from his 5-week stay in jail, he promised Christina that was it. He was done. He wasn't going to do it no more, and that things would be different. But as we all know, he was lying. And in March of 1993, he would be arrested again for stalking another woman. And I'm not sure what the penalty for that crime was, like what he had to serve in jail, or if he had to serve any jail time for that crime, or if the charges were dropped. But it happened. But Christina was getting increasingly fed up with this. This was the second time that he had been arrested in the 2 years that they had been married. And Christina, she wasn't going to deal with it for too much longer. And the final straw came for Christina in the summer of 1995 when John was found hiding in a woman's closet and was arrested. This time, Christina was done. And in August of that year, she left John and filed for divorce. She went and got her own apartment and she started working on building a new life without John. And thankfully, they didn't have no kids together, so it was a little bit easier to distance herself from him. However, John would not sign the divorce papers, and so they were separated, but they were not divorced. And after 2 months of John stalling the divorce, Christina, she was fed up. She wanted to be done with John completely, to sever all ties. And so in October of 1995, Christina had planned a meeting with John in hopes of discussing the divorce and hopefully getting the divorce papers signed. And she told one of her sisters and some of her co-worker friends about this meeting with John. And she kind of said that she was a little nervous about it, but she was going to do it anyways because it had to be done. As she was leaving work the night before she was supposed to meet John, Christina even joked with her sister and her co-workers that if she didn't return back from this meeting with John, they was going to have to call the police. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. So the next day is the day of the meeting, October 19th, 1995. She calls her sister and she lets her know, like, look, I'm about to go meet with John. I will call you after to let you know how everything went. And she got off the phone with her sister. And unfortunately, that was the last time that her sister would ever talk to her. And when Christina didn't call her sister back to let her know nothing, the family reported her missing. And they started a search for Christina ASAP. And during this search, they were able to find her car. It was in some random parking lot not too far from where John lived. And inside the car was Christina's wallet, but that was it. Nothing else was found of value in the car. And so with John's criminal history, him being the estranged husband, and him being the last person to have been known to see Christina, he was obviously the number one suspect. And so they go to stake out John's house to wait for him to hopefully come home. And when he does, he realizes that the cops is there, and he kind of tried to get away, but it didn't work. And he was quickly arrested and taken in for questioning. While he was down at the police station getting questioned, the detectives noticed that he had scratches on his face and body, which was suspect enough. But also, while he was being questioned, there were officers that was at his house searching his car. And in his car, they found a muddy shovel and muddy clothes. But unfortunately, the DA said that they would not be filing charges against him because there was nobody. They didn't have a crime scene. They didn't have any witnesses. They just felt like there wasn't enough to charge him with a murder when they didn't even know a murder occurred. Christina was only missing at this point. And John's muddy clothes and the muddy shovel could be explained because he had a job at a local cemetery. So the DA just felt like they didn't have enough to hold him on murder charges, right? However, John would end up still serving 4 years on an unrelated charge because he had a warrant out for his arrest because obviously he was still a Peeping Tom and he had a warrant for trespassing on somebody's property. And unfortunately, Christina's case will go cold for the next 14 years until a new DA decided to reopen the case in 2009. And with all the evidence that they had collected from before, on June 18, 2009, John was arrested for the first-degree murder of Christina Sandoval and was sentenced to life on August 5th, 2010. However, he appealed his sentence because I I think some things that was presented in court he felt like shouldn't have been presented, like his criminal past about like Peeping Tom, because I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sitting here making stuff up, so let me just be quiet. But I do know that he appealed his case and that his sentence was overturned on March 17, 2016. However, he wouldn't be getting out of jail while he waited for his new trial. But while he was waiting for his trial, John decided that since he already got convicted and sentenced to life once, he didn't want to take that chance again. And he decided to have his lawyers offer a plea deal. And the plea was that he would plead guilty to the lesser charge of second-degree murder, and he would tell them where Christina was. And after consulting with Christina's family, they decided to accept John's plea. And in 2017, John pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 25 years in prison and 5 years of parole. And in return, he led the police to Christina's body, which was buried under a World War II veteran named Arthur Hurt at the Sunset Memorial Gardens Cemetery. And so because she was buried underneath the grave of someone, they had to get permission from Arthur's family to exhume his coffin. They weren't going to take him out of the coffin or anything like that, but they had to get permission to exhume his gravesite. And within 90 minutes, Arthur's son was down at the police station signing the documents to have his father's grave exhumed. And once they exhumed Arthur's grave, they dug 2 feet down and found Christina wrapped in tarp and plastic. And yeah, can y'all imagine if Arthur's family would have said no to the exhumation? Christina's family would have never had even this little piece of closure. They was never able to get an exact cause of death because of the level of decomposition of Christina's body. But John obviously admitted to killing her, and he said that the night that they met and he killed her, early that morning, he went to the cemetery and found a grave that was already dug and proceeded to bury Christina. And then that same day, Arthur's funeral was held, and his family unknowingly buried him on top of Christina. So after John was sent to jail, Christina's family thought that they wouldn't have to deal with him being up for parole until at least 2028. However, he was actually eligible for parole just 3 years after he took this plea in 2020. So just 3 years after this family got a little piece of justice, they had to deal with John all over again when he became eligible for parole. But what I don't understand is how he even is eligible for parole. He took the plea deal, and he should spend the next 25 years in prison with no parole and then do his probation, which by then he gonna be old, gray, and probably dead. So like, why is he eligible for parole? Why is he eligible to be released? I don't know. But y'all, that does conclude today's case. Thank you all so very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Like, are you kidding me? Why does my hair do this to me all the time? And then with this, like, my forehead look like goddamn boom. We done made your hair into a bowl. Go ahead. Oh, look, if they talk about you, it's okay, because you done talked about yourself already. You know what you look like, girl. Now, y'all, I need a new ring light because this one is on its last leg. That she would go to college to pursue a. John was arrested for stalking one of his co-workers. And the plea deal would be that he would plead guilty to the lesser, and the plea was that he would plead